Hello there, and welcome to the Serene Scroll. I'm so glad you could join me. Perhaps it has been a long day, a day filled with details and decisions, noise and movement. And now you have found your way here to a quiet space at the edge of the world, a place for rest. Tonight, we will leave the familiar behind, not in a rush, but as gently as a leaf letting go of a branch. We begin a slow voyage to Saturn, a journey designed for the stillness of night. And just before we depart, if you find that these quiet explorations help you unwind or offer you a peaceful way to end your day, consider gently tapping the like button and subscribing to the channel. It ensures you will always have a place to return to whenever you need to drift away. Now let us begin. Find your place of rest. Allow the weight of your body to settle, to be fully held by the surface beneath you. Feel the gentle contact of the fabric against your skin, the soft pressure of the air in the room. This is the first step of our journey stillness. Before any great voyage, there is this moment of profound quiet. Think of our vessel, the ship that will carry us to the rings of Saturn. It is not yet in motion. It stands on the launch pad, a silent monument of potential, pointing toward the dark velvet of the sky. It is bathed in the cool light of gantries, a patient titan awaiting a signal. Like our vessel, your body is now in a state of rest. This is the first and most fundamental law of motion, a truth discovered by Isaac Newton centuries ago. An object at rest stays at rest. It is the universe's natural state of peace. There is no effort in this stillness. You do not need to do anything to be still. You simply need to cease doing to allow the gentle inertia of tranquility to take hold. Notice the subtle movements that remain, the soft rise and fall of your chest with each breath. Our ship too has these signs of life. Deep within its hull, computers hum. With a quiet electricity, gyroscopes spin with near-silent precision, and fuel rests, potent and calm within its tanks. Stillness is not emptiness. It is a state full of readiness. Allow each breath to deepen this feeling. As you inhale, imagine drawing in the quiet of the night, the vast, patient silence of the cosmos. As you exhale, imagine letting go of the day's momentum. Let go of the forward-leaning energy, the lists, the plans, the conversations. With each breath out, you release a little more of the world's pull, sinking deeper into this shared stillness with our vessel. We are both here, you and the ship, held by the same invisible force, gravity. It is the Earth's constant, gentle embrace. It is the reason the blanket feels heavy upon you, the reason your head rests softly on the pillow. For our ship, it is a bond of immense power, tethering its millions of pounds of mass to the ground. This force is often described as a well, a gravity well. Imagine the fabric of space-time as a vast flat sheet. A massive object like the Earth creates a deep, soft indentation in this sheet. We are resting at the bottom of this well. It is a place of safety, of familiarity, of home. But to begin our journey, we must climb out. This climb is not a battle. It is not an escape. It is a process of release, a great and controlled letting go. The countdown begins, but it is not a sound of urgency. Hear it not as a frantic ticking clock, but as the slow, deep chime of a temple bell marking a sacred transition. 10, 9, 8. With each number, a system comes online, a final check is made. The ship is waking up, gathering its strength. 7, 6, 5. You can feel a low vibration begin not in your ears, but in the deepest parts of your body. It is the sound of immense energy being gathered, a hum that resonates with the atoms of your own being. 4, 3, 2. There is a final moment of absolute silence. The world holds its breath. And then, 1. It is not an explosion. It is an unfurling, a blossoming of power, a force equal and opposite to the pull of the earth. Newton's third law made manifest not as violence, but as a perfect cosmic balance. Imagine the earth itself is taking a deep, slow breath in, and then exhaling. We are riding that exhale. The sound is not a roar that shatters the air, but a deep, continuous a vibration that lifts us from the ground. The pressure is immense, a great weight pushing you back into your seat, but it is a steady, supportive pressure. It is the feeling of being moved by something far greater than yourself. Slowly, gracefully, we ascend. The world does not rush by in a blur. Instead, it seems to recede, to gently pull away. The lights of the launch facility shrink, becoming a small cluster of diamonds on a dark cloth. The curve of the coastline begins to reveal itself, a gentle arc drawn by a master artist. We are climbing the walls of the gravity well, and with every foot we gain in altitude, the Earth's embrace loosens just a little. The air thins. The sky, which was once a familiar blue or a hazy gray, begins to transform. It deepens, turning from azure to indigo, from indigo to a profound star-dusted violet, and finally to the pure, absolute black of space. The great engines, their work in this first stage, now complete, fall away. The sound ceases. The pressure vanishes. And then there is release. A profound and total silence descends. The rumbling is gone. The feeling of weight is gone. You are floating. If you were to open your hand, the dust motes in the air would not fall. They would dance in place, suspended in a state of perfect, continuous freefall around the planet. This is weightlessness. It is not the absence of gravity. Gravity is still here, holding us in orbit. It is the state of yielding to it completely. Allow this feeling to permeate your own body. Imagine the tension leaving your muscles, the small chronic holdings in your shoulders, your jaw, your neck. Let them go. Feel yourself becoming light, buoyant. The need to hold yourself up has disappeared. You are held. You are supported by the perfect balance of momentum and gravity, a celestial dance that requires no effort at all. You are in orbit. Now turn your gaze to the window. Look back at where we came from. What you see is not a map. It is not a globe. It is the Earth, a living, breathing sphere of impossible beauty suspended in the velvet darkness. This is what astronauts call the overview effect. It is a shift in perspective, a cognitive realignment that can change a person forever. From here, you see no borders, no divisions, no lines drawn in the sand by history or politics. You see only a single unified system. The white, swirling patterns of clouds move in a slow, majestic ballet across the deep blue of the oceans. The continents are painted in shades of ochre green and brown, a planetary tapestry woven over millennia. At the edge of the planet, you can see the atmosphere, a layer so thin and fragile it looks like a faint blue aura. It is a delicate membrane of air, the only thing that separates all of life from the cold, silent vacuum of space. Every breath you have ever taken, every word ever spoken, every song ever sung exists within that impossibly thin, luminous haze. As the Earth slowly rotates beneath us, you see the Terminator line the soft, blurry edge between day and night creeping across the surface. On the night side, the cities of humanity are not sources of noise or chaos. They are clusters of golden light, like nerve cells firing in a great planetary brain. You can see the Nile River Delta, a brilliant flower of light blooming in the darkness. You see the dense webs of light that are Europe, North America, and East Asia, all connected, all pulsing with the same human energy. There is a profound sense of peace in this view. The conflicts and the worries that seem so large on the ground become infinitesimally small from this vantage point. The planet breathes. It is a complete whole and deeply interconnected organism. And you are not separate from it. You are a part of it looking back at itself. This realization is not intellectual. It is a feeling, a sense of belonging not just to a town or a country, but to a world. A sense of awe at the sheer improbability and preciousness of this blue marble, our only home. We will stay here for a while in this gentle, stable orbit, allowing this perspective to sink in. There is no hurry. Our journey to Saturn is long, and it begins with this act of quiet observation. It begins with appreciating the home we are leaving behind. With every slow orbit, we see another face of the Earth, a storm system churning over the Pacific, a vast white abstract painting. The sun glinting off the surface of the sea, a fleeting flash of brilliant silver. The immense rust-red expanse of the Australian outback. Each view is a new masterpiece offered up by the cosmos for our quiet contemplation. This is the gift of leaving, not to escape, but to see more clearly what we have left, to understand our place in the grand scheme of things. The laws of motion that lifted us from the ground are the same laws that keep the earth spinning on its axis and the moon tracing its faithful path. The gravity that held us down is the very same force that now holds us in this perfect, weightless embrace. We have not conquered these forces. We have simply learned to dance with them. We have now climbed out of Earth's immediate gravity well, but our journey is far from over. We are still deeply embedded within a much larger, much more powerful field of influence. As we drift here watching the Earth turn, you can feel its presence, the source of all warmth and light in our sky, the anchor around which our entire world and all the others revolve. Our ship is now poised, waiting for the precise moment to fire its engines again, not to fight gravity, but to use the Earth's own momentum to swing us outward, deeper into the solar system. We are leaving the cradle, but we are still held firmly within the embrace of the family. Our next destination is not a place, but a path, a long, graceful arc that is governed entirely by the star at the center of it all. We now turn our attention from the beautiful world we have left to the immense radiant power that will guide our way forward, the sun's embrace. As we drift away from the soft, blue, and white sphere of home, a new reality begins to unfold. The gentle pull of Earth's gravity, that constant and familiar anchor of our entire existence, slowly yields to a greater, more ancient power. We are no longer simply orbiting a planet. We have become a vessel cast upon a cosmic ocean, and our sail is now set toward the heart of this system. We have entered the sun's embrace. From here, the sun is not the gentle yellow disk we see through the filter of our atmosphere. It is an immense incandescent star, a churning ball of fusion whose brilliance is almost too profound to behold. Yet its influence is far more than just light and heat. It is a presence that fills all of space around us. We are sailing through an invisible extension of the sun itself, a vast bubble of its own making called the heliosphere. Imagine the sun breathing. With every moment, it exhales a constant stream of charged particles, a solar wind that travels outward at hundreds of kilometers per second. This is not a wind of air, but a river of plasma carrying with it the sun's own magnetic field. Our small craft is designed for this journey. Its shields, silent and unseen, deflect these particles, protecting us like a sturdy hull in a storm. We are solar sailors, learning to navigate the subtle currents and eddies of this stellar breath. This wind is what shapes the tails of comets, and it is this same wind that carves out a domain for our solar system within the greater interstellar medium of the galaxy. Everything within this bubble, every planet, moon, and traveler like us, is bathed in the essence of our star. We are in a very real sense still inside the sun. This journey is not a straight line drawn through empty space. It is a dance, a delicate negotiation with the most fundamental force in the cosmos, gravity. And to journey from the inner circle of the sun to the outer realms, we must learn the steps of this dance intimately. We must use the gravity of our celestial siblings to guide us on our way. First, our path carries us through the neighborhood of the inner planets, each one a unique character in this grand, slow drama. We are still within what astronomers call the Goldilocks zone, that slender, temperate ring around the star where liquid water can exist, where life as we know it has a chance. We are leaving the heart of that zone now, but its other residents have stories to tell. Far ahead, impossibly close to the sun, is Mercury, the swiftest of the siblings. It completes its frantic orbit in just 88 Earth days. Through our vessel's lenses, it appears as a small, pockmarked world, scarred by billions of years of impacts. It has no atmosphere, to speak of no blanket to protect it from the sun's searing radiation or the cold of space. Its surface is a testament to endurance, a scorched and frozen messenger forever tethered to its star. Its days hot enough to melt lead, and its nights cold enough to freeze nitrogen. A world of brutal extremes, it reminds us of the raw, untamed power we are traveling alongside. Then there is Venus, the next sibling out. From a distance it is a jewel, a brilliant white beacon in the morning or evening sky. But as we see it now, off to our port side, we know its beauty is a veil. Beneath its thick, swirling clouds of sulfuric acid lies a world undone by a runaway greenhouse effect. Its atmosphere is so dense, so heavy, that the pressure on its surface is 90 times that of Earth's. It is a vision of a paradise, lost, a cautionary tale written in the language of atmospheric chemistry. It shares so much with our own world, a similar size, a similar mass, and yet it took a radically different path, becoming a beautiful but infernal furnace. Its slow retrograde rotation means its day is longer than its year. A world where time itself seems to move differently, trapped beneath a suffocating blanket. And behind us, shrinking with every passing moment, is Earth, our home, the perfect expression of the Goldilocks principle. From this vantage point, it is no longer a map of nations and continents, but a single living entity, a fragile marble of swirling blue oceans, white clouds, and green and brown land suspended in the blackness. There is a quiet ache in seeing it this way, a deep and profound sense of its preciousness. All of human history, every birth, every death, every war, every piece of art, every moment of love and despair played out on that tiny distant stage. It is the only home we have ever known, and its gentle gravity is a memory we will carry with us all the way to the rings of Saturn. Our trajectory is now carrying us toward the fourth and final of the inner rocky worlds, Mars, the red planet. It appears before us not as a world of fury like Mercury or hidden tragedy like Venus, but as a place of deep silent history. Its rust-colored dust covers a landscape of immense, sleeping volcanoes and canyons that dwarf any on Earth. Its thin atmosphere whispers of a time long ago when liquid water may have flowed freely across its surface, carving the very channels we can now observe. Mars is a planetary archive, a cold, dry library, holding the secrets of a world that might have been. It is the color of terracotta and faded memory, and it is here with Mars that we will perform the first great step of our cosmic waltz. We are not a vessel powered by brute force alone. Our journey is one of elegance and efficiency, of using the universe's own rules to our advantage. We are preparing for a gravitational assist, a maneuver sometimes called a slingshot. Imagine gravity not as a simple pull, but as a landscape. Massive objects like the Sun and the planets create deep wells in the fabric of space-time. Our ship is like a ball rolling across this contoured landscape. To travel from one place to another, we don't just push ourselves in a straight line. We aim for the gravitational wells of planets, using their depth to change our course and increase our speed. As we approach Mars, we allow its gravity to capture us. We are not fighting it. We are surrendering to it, falling toward the planet in a carefully calculated arc. The ship is quiet. The engines are idle. For a time, we become a temporary moon of Mars. The red plains and shadowed canyons drift below us, a silent alien world close enough to almost touch. We feel the immense, graceful pull of the planet, a gentle but insistent tug on every atom of our ship. Then, at the precisely calculated moment, as we swing around the planet's far side, our own engines fire for just a few moments. Not to escape, but to add a tiny nudge to our momentum at the most opportune time. That small push, combined with the immense orbital energy we have borrowed from Mars itself, is magnified. The planet's gravity, which pulled us in now, acts as a sling flinging us back out into the solar system. Mars will be slowed in its own orbit by an infinitesimal, unmeasurable amount, and that energy is transferred directly to us. The acceleration is not violent. It is a smooth, powerful, and continuous surge, like a surfer catching the perfect wave. We are propelled forward, our speed dramatically increased, our course now bent toward the outer solar system. We have used the planet's own motion around the Sun to climb higher up the Sun's gravitational well. It is a maneuver of profound humility, an acknowledgement that our own power is minuscule compared to the forces that govern the cosmos. We are not conquering space. We are learning its rhythms and moving in harmony with them. With Mars now receding behind us, a new and subtle aspect of our journey becomes apparent. The vastness we are crossing is not just one of distance, but also of time. We send a message back to Earth, a simple packet of data confirming the success of our maneuver. But that message does not arrive instantly. It travels at the fastest speed the universe allows, the speed of light. But even at that incredible velocity, it takes minutes to cross the gap between our worlds. The reply, when it comes, will also be delayed. We are living in a different now from the one on Earth. We are in a conversation with ghosts of the past, receiving messages sent minutes ago which feel like a lifetime away. This time lag fosters a unique sense of solitude, a feeling of true and complete departure. We are untethered, not just from Earth's gravity, but from its immediacy. The constant flow of information that defines life back home is gone, replaced by a quiet patience. We must learn to think ahead, to anticipate, to trust in our own systems and our own judgment. This delay is not a barrier. It is a teacher instructing us in the art of presence, of living fully in our own isolated moment in space-time. We are truly voyagers now, alone with the silent, steady hum of our vessel and the star-dusted blackness ahead. Looking forward away from the sun, the light of the inner planets fades. We have left that warm, familiar circle behind. Before us lies a new frontier of vast and mysterious territory that for centuries marked the boundary of the known solar system. It is a region spoken of in myth and fiction as a treacherous, impassable barrier. We are approaching the great divide between the rocky inner worlds and the gas giants beyond. We are preparing to cross the Rubicon of our solar system, the Asteroid Belt. The red dust of Mars is now a memory, a faint, rust-colored star receding in our wake. We have left the last rocky outpost of the inner solar system, the final harbor before the great ocean. Out here, the sun's light has a different quality. It is still the brilliant, life-giving heart of our system, but its warmth is more subtle, its glare less immediate. It has become a magnificent distant lighthouse, guiding us through a darkness more profound than any night known on Earth. Our trajectory now carries us toward a region of space spoken of in hushed, dramatic tones in our stories, a great divide, a fabled barrier of rock and chaos. We are entering the main asteroid belt. Forget the images from cinema. Forget the frantic chases the spacecraft, weaving through a dense cascade of tumbling, colliding mountains of rock. That is a fiction born of our terrestrial need for drama, for crowded landscapes. The truth, as is so often the case in the cosmos, is quieter, stranger, and infinitely more vast. The asteroid belt is not a wall. It is a ghost. It is the echo of a world that never was, a celestial museum preserving the unformed memories of the solar system's birth. The crossing begins not with a sudden onslaught of debris, but with a gradual change in the star field. The pinpricks of distant galaxies and nebulae are occasionally joined by a much closer, fainter light, a tiny, silent object moving on its own, slow, determined path around the sun. Then another, and another. These are not swarming aggressors. The average distance between any two of these ancient travelers is over 1 million kilometers, more than twice the distance from the Earth to the Moon. If you were to stand on the surface of one, you would likely need a powerful telescope to even glimpse your nearest neighbor. The space between worlds, it turns out, is mostly just that space. An immense, silent, patient emptiness, punctuated by the loneliest monuments in existence. To understand this place is to travel back in time, 4.5 billion years to the dawn of our solar neighborhood. Imagine a vast spinning cloud of gas and dust surrounding our young, fiery star. This was the protoplanetary disk, the raw material from which everything we know was born. Gravity, the quiet sculptor of the cosmos, began its work. Tiny grains of dust clung together, becoming pebbles, then boulders, then planetesimals, the seeds of worlds. In the inner system, where it was warmer, these seeds grew into the rocky planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. Farther out in the cold, the seeds grew into giants, gathering immense atmospheres of gas and ice. But here, in this wide gulf between Mars and the future king of planets, Jupiter, something different happened. The process of creation was interrupted. The planetesimals began to form, aspiring to coalesce into a fifth rocky world. But the gravitational influence of Jupiter, the colossal giant just over the horizon, was too powerful. Its immense gravity acted like a cosmic shepherd stirring this flock of aspiring worlds, nudging their orbits and flinging them into one another with just enough energy to prevent them from ever truly uniting. They could not settle down, could not merge into a single stable body, and so they remained a scattered collection of fragments, the unfulfilled promise of a planet. This belt is not a graveyard of a shattered world, but rather the preserved nursery of one that was never born. We are sailing through the building blocks of a ghost planet. Our instruments register the passage of these silent relics. Most are small, the size of a city block or a mountain composed of rock and metal, their surfaces cratered by eons of smaller impacts. They are irregular, lumpy, like potatoes tossed into the dark. Each one is a time capsule, untouched by weather, by volcanism, by the geological churning that constantly reshapes a living world like Earth. Their surfaces tell a story, written in the language of cosmic radiation and impacts. They are pristine artifacts from the dawn of time. If you could hold one in your hand, you would be touching the original stuff of the solar system, a physical piece of history from before the Earth itself had fully formed. As we drift deeper into this sparse, quiet realm, our trajectory brings us close to one of its most remarkable inhabitants. It appears first as a faint, grayish point of light, but grows steadily into a sphere. This is Vesta, the second largest object in the belt. It is not just an asteroid. It is a protoplanet, a survivor from that turbulent era of formation. It is large enough that gravity has pulled it into a roughly spherical shape, and its history is written across its face. As we draw into a temporary observational orbit, its surface resolves into a landscape of breathtaking desolation. The light of the distant sun is stark here, casting sharp black shadows across a gray, dusty terrain. Vesta is dominated by a colossal impact basin near its south pole named Rhea Silvia. This is not merely a crater, it is a wound so vast that the impact that created it nearly shattered Vesta, entirely gouging out 1% of its total volume and sending a family of smaller asteroids, the Vestoids, scattering across the belt. The central peak of this basin is one of the tallest mountains in the solar system, rising from the crater floor to a height that dwarfs Mount Everest. It is a silent, frozen testament to an ancient, unimaginable violence. We drift over its surface, our sensors mapping the grooves and troughs that encircle its equator. The deep scars left by the shock waves of that cataclysmic event. There is no air here, no sound, only the slow, silent pirouette of a wounded world forever showing its scars to the darkness. Vesta is a story of survival, a relic that endured the chaos of its youth. We move on our path, carrying us further from the sun, toward an even more intriguing world. After days of travel through the quiet dark, another sphere grows in our viewfinders. It is more uniform, less scarred than Vesta. Its surface is a darker, duller gray, but it holds a secret that has captivated scientists for decades. This is Ceres, the largest object in the belt, the first to be discovered, and a world so unique it is classified as a dwarf planet in the same family as Pluto. From a distance, Ceres appears unassuming, but as we get closer, our high-resolution cameras begin to pick out anomalies, dozens of impossibly bright white spots gleaming against the dark, cratered dust. They shine with a reflected light that seems unnatural, like salt flats or exposed ice. The most famous of these lie within the Akator crater, a feature named Cerealia facula. It is a splash of brilliant white at the center of a dark basin, an ethereal patch of light in the unending gray. Science tells us this is salt sodium carbonate residue left behind as briny water from beneath the surface, sublimated into space. Ceres. This small world adrift between Mars and Jupiter likely holds a liquid ocean beneath its crust. It has the ingredients for life as we know it, water, organic compounds, and a source of energy from its rocky interior. It is a frozen sleeping world that hints at a hidden active interior. As we pass over it, we are not just observing a rock. We are witnessing a potential habitat, a place where the chemistry of life may have stirred or may yet stir in the deep, cold dark. We are explorers peering through a keyhole into a vast hidden ocean, 100 times smaller than Earth's moon, but a universe of possibilities unto itself. The silence here feels different. It is not the silence of dead rock, but the hushed quiet of a place holding a profound secret. This journey through the belt is a lesson in perspective. We are surrounded by objects that have been here on these same lonely orbits since the beginning. They have witnessed the formation of Earth, the rise of its oceans, the first flicker of life. They were here when dinosaurs walked our planet, and they were here when the first humans looked up at the night sky and wondered what the stars were. Our entire history, every empire, every poem, every discovery, every life is but a momentary flash against the timeline of these silent stones. They embody a concept that the human mind can barely grasp: deep time. A timescale so vast that it renders our own concerns both infinitesimally small and, paradoxically, all the more precious. We are the fleeting consciousness of the universe, the brief witnesses to its ancient, patient grandeur. Our vessel, a marvel of human ingenuity, is a fragile bubble of warmth and light in this cold, ancient place. It is a thought, a question made manifest and sent out into the void. And as we travel, we realize we are crossing a threshold far more significant than a mere field of rocks. This belt is the true boundary of the inner solar system. We are leaving the neighborhood of familiar rocky worlds, worlds you could in theory stand upon. We are crossing the Rubicon into a new and altogether different domain, the realm of the giants. The presence of the next world begins to make itself felt long before it is visible. It is not a light, but a feeling, a subtle, persistent tug on our trajectory. Our navigation systems make constant tiny corrections, compensating for a gravitational influence that grows with every passing hour. It is the invisible hand of Jupiter reaching out across hundreds of millions of kilometers of empty space. The Sun's gravity still governs our primary path, but we have now entered the sphere of influence of the King. The asteroids themselves seem to orbit with a certain deference to this unseen monarch, their paths shaped and shepherded by its power. We are passing through the last of the scattered ruins, leaving the ghost of the unformed planet behind. Ahead of us lies the court of the giant, a planetary system in its own right, with its swirling storms, its dozens of moons, and a gravitational shadow so profound it has shaped the very architecture of our solar system. The quiet solitude of the belt is ending. A deep, resonant hum is beginning to replace it on the instruments that measure the fabric of space itself. The great King awaits. Our trajectory now curves gently, not by our own design, but by the will of a presence we cannot yet see. For weeks, it has been nothing more than the brightest star in our forward view, an unblinking diamond. But unlike the distant cold points of light from other galaxies, this one has a palpable weight. Our ship's instruments register it as a subtle, insistent pull, a gravitational tide drawing us forward. We are entering the domain of a king. This is the influence of Jupiter, the fifth world from the Sun, a planet so vast it could swallow all others in the solar system and still have room to spare. It does not occupy space, it commands it. Long before its magnificent banded face fills our viewports, we feel its authority. The ship, a marvel of human engineering, becomes a tiny skiff caught in the current of an impossibly large river, its course now guided by the deep, slow-breathing gravity of the giant. Slowly, day by day, the star resolves into a disk. At first, it is a perfect pale circle. Then, faint lines appear, stretching across its surface like strokes from a celestial brush. These are the first hints of its atmosphere, the legendary belts and zones of a world made not of rock or soil, but of the very same elements that fuel the stars. We are falling towards an immense sphere of hydrogen and helium, a world without a solid surface to stand on an ocean of gas, tens of thousands of kilometers deep. The colors bleed into view with a breathtaking subtlety. They are not the harsh reds of Mars or the familiar blues of Earth. These are the hues of ancient tapestries, ochre cream, deep rust, and pale saffron, all swirling together in intricate, chaotic harmony. These bands are vast rivers of air, some wider than our home planet, flowing in opposite directions at hundreds of kilometers per hour. The friction between them gives birth to colossal storms, vortices that can rage for years, for decades, for centuries. We are witnessing weather on a scale that defies terrestrial imagination. Here, a simple storm cloud could shelter an entire continent. The ship turns a slow and deliberate maneuver to give us the best view of the approaching sovereign. And there it is, holding court in the southern hemisphere, a swirling crimson jewel known as the Great Red Spot. From this distance, it looks like a beautiful, serene eye. But we know it is a tempest, a high-pressure system so vast that it has been observed by astronomers on Earth for over 300 years. It is a hurricane wider than 3 Earths, with winds at its edge, screaming faster than any recorded on our home world. Imagine a storm that has outlived empires, a storm that was raging when Galileo first pointed his telescope at the heavens, a storm that may have been churning long before that. It is not just weather, it is a geological feature, a permanent fixture of this fluid world. It is the planet's sleepless eye staring out into the void. As we draw closer, we can see the intricate turbulence within it, smaller storms being born and consumed by its colossal rotation. It is a maelstrom of unimaginable power, yet from our safe and silent vessel, it unfolds with the silent, hypnotic grace of a cosmic ballet. This immense world, this king of planets, has a dual nature. It is a place of chaos, but it is also a source of stability. Jupiter is often called the solar system's bodyguard. Its enormous gravity acts as a cosmic broom sweeping our region of space, clear of stray comets and asteroids. For eons it has pulled in, or flung away countless objects that might otherwise have found their way to the inner solar system to Earth. How many catastrophic impacts has our own planet been spared, thanks to this distant, unknowing guardian? We owe a silent debt of gratitude to the very power that now holds us in its sway. The same force that could tear our ship apart has for billions of years sheltered the delicate spark of life on a small blue world we left so far behind. The pull is stronger now. Our speed is increasing. We are no longer simply approaching Jupiter. We are falling into its embrace. This is the most critical phase of our journey, a maneuver known as a gravity assist. We are using the planet itself as a slingshot. We will fly close, allowing its gravity to bend our path, and then fling us outward, adding a tremendous burst of speed to our voyage speed we could never achieve with our engines alone. It is a gravitational handshake, a gift of momentum from the giant. The ship hums with a different energy. Every system is monitored. We are a tiny, fragile thought skimming the mind of a god. The light from the sun reflects off the swirling ammonia clouds below, casting a soft, golden glow through our cabin. There is no sense of up or down here, only the overwhelming presence of the planet filling our entire reality. We are inside its shadow, not the darkness of a solar eclipse, but the shadow of its influence, a space where its laws are absolute. And as we begin the great curve around the planet's limb, its court comes into view. The moons. Jupiter is not a solitary monarch. It is the heart of its own miniature solar system, with nearly 100 known satellites. 4 of them are Titans, worlds in their own right, the Galilean moons. The first to reveal itself is Io. It is a world of fire and brimstone, painted in startling shades of yellow-orange and black from the sulfur that coats its surface. We see it not as a quiet sphere, but as a living, tormented body. Plumes of gas and dust erupt hundreds of kilometers into space from its many active volcanoes. Io is the most volcanically active object in the solar system, a world constantly writhing in agony. It is caught in a gravitational tug-of-war between the colossal Jupiter and the other large moons. This constant stretching and squeezing generates immense heat in its core, fueling its endless eruptions. It is a place of violent, terrible beauty, a testament to the raw power of gravity made manifest. Swinging past Io, our trajectory brings us a glimpse of the next courtier, Europa. It could not be more different. Where Io is hellish fire, Europa is serene ice. It is a smooth white pearl streaked with a network of long, dark cracks. It looks ancient and peaceful, a world locked in a deep freeze. But this placid exterior hides one of the most exciting secrets in the solar system. Beneath that crust of ice, scientists believe there lies a vast, globe-spanning ocean of liquid salt water, an ocean kept from freezing by the same gravitational flexing that tortures Io. An ocean hidden from the light of the sun for billions of years. An ocean that may contain more water than all of Earth's oceans combined. And where there is liquid water, there is the tantalizing possibility of life. Are there hydrothermal vents on its seabed, similar to those on Earth, where life thrives without sunlight? What strange ecosystems might have evolved in that eternal alien darkness? We can only wonder. Our mission takes us onward, but the sight of Europa is a profound reminder that the universe hides its greatest treasures in the most unexpected places, beneath the most unassuming of surfaces. The cracked ice of Europa is a line of poetry, a question written across a world, a promise of mysteries yet to be unraveled. We see the other 2 great moons from a greater distance. Ganymede, the largest moon in the entire solar system, larger even than the planet Mercury, a world of rock and ice with its own magnetic field, a true planetary prince. And farther out, Callisto, ancient and dark, its surface a frozen record of the solar system's history, saturated with craters from 4 billion years of bombardment, a quiet, solemn historian in the king's court. Our arc around Jupiter is now at its tightest. The ship is moving faster than it ever has. The great planet fills our view, a wall of swirling, silent motion. We feel the peak of its gravitational pull, the firmest part of the handshake. There is a moment of perfect, suspended awe, a feeling of being utterly insignificant, and yet profoundly connected to this cosmic engine. We are borrowing a fraction of its orbital energy, a whisper of its ancient momentum, to continue our own quest. We are a fleck of dust granted passage by a king. Then, just as quickly as it began, the moment passes. The arc widens. We are now moving away, flung out from the planet's grasp. Our new trajectory is set. Our speed is vastly increased. The gravitational handshake is complete. Looking back, Jupiter is no longer a world filling our senses, but a stunningly beautiful sphere, shrinking with surprising speed. The great red spot is once again a serene, crimson eye watching us depart. The Galilean moons resolve back into points of light, their unique personalities dissolving into the distance. The overwhelming presence recedes its deep hum, fading from our instruments and our minds. We have passed through the court of the king. We have witnessed its power, its fury, and its strange protective grace. We have seen its fiery and its icy children. We have received its blessing of speed. But now that entire system, that vibrant, dynamic hub of the outer solar system, is falling behind us. The light of the sun feels even more distant, even more precious. The bodyguard is at our back, and ahead of us lies the next great ocean of emptiness. The space between Jupiter and our final destination, Saturn, is an abyss of profound scale. The king's court is behind us. The gravitational whisper has faded into a perfect silence. Ahead lies only the long, quiet dark. An emptiness so vast, so profound, it seems to have a presence of its own. And in this immense stillness, the journey turns inward. Jupiter recedes. From our aft viewports, the great gas giant is no longer a world that fills the sky, but a perfect marbled sphere, shrinking with each passing moment. Its retinue of moons, once vibrant destinations in their own right, have become pinpricks of light, once more collapsing back into the celestial tapestry. The king's court is behind us now. The gravitational tide that pulled us through its system has released its grip, and we are cast out into the great ocean between worlds. Ahead lies only the dark, behind a memory of light and turmoil, and all around us for millions upon millions of kilometers in every direction there is the long, profound quiet. This quiet is not merely an absence of sound, it is a presence. It is the fundamental state of the universe, a silence so deep and ancient that it permeates the very structure of our ship. The subtle vibrations of the hull, the whisper of the air recyclers, the low, steady hum of the fusion core. These are not interruptions to the silence. They are born of it. They are the sound of life, a fragile melody played against the infinite stillness. In the first days after leaving Jupiter's influence, this hum seems loud, almost intrusive. It is the last anchor to the mechanical world we have built. But slowly, as the hours bleed into days and the days into weeks, a transformation occurs. The mind stops fighting the sound. It stops trying to listen through it. Instead, it begins to listen with it. The hum ceases to be noise and becomes a mantra, a constant resonant frequency that underlies our every thought, our every breath. It is the heartbeat of our vessel, the rhythm of the voyage itself. We learn to sleep to it, to wake to it, to feel its subtle shifts, as the ship's systems make their microscopic adjustments. It is the sound of survival, the sound of solitude, the sound of the journey. Here, in the vast expanse between the fifth and sixth worlds, time begins to behave strangely. Not the time kept by the ship's atomic clocks, which tick forward with unforgiving cesium-powered precision. Their glowing green numerals mark the objective passage of seconds, minutes, and days, a rigid framework laid over an experience that has become fluid and formless. No, it is our own internal time that has come untethered. With no sunrise or sunset, no changing seasons, no worldly cues to segment our existence, the mind begins to drift. The neat divisions of the 24-hour cycle become arbitrary, a ghost of a life we once lived on a spinning planet. We eat when we are hungry, sleep when we are tired, and work in long, focused stretches, dictated by the needs of the ship and the flow of our own consciousness. One moment might stretch into an eternity of quiet contemplation, staring out at the star fields. The next, a full cycle of sleep and wakefulness, might pass in what feels like a fleeting dream. We are living in the time of the mind, subjective and deeply personal. It is a disorienting freedom, a release from the tyranny of the clock that governed our lives back on Earth. And yet, there is another layer to this mystery of time, a secret whispered by the very laws of the cosmos we are traversing. Our ship is moving at a velocity that is a significant fraction of the speed of light. And according to the strange and beautiful logic of Einstein's relativity, this has a profound consequence. Time for us here on this vessel is flowing just a fraction of a second slower than it is for everyone we left behind. It is a concept so counterintuitive, it feels more like philosophy than physics. Imagine time as a great universal river. A clock sitting on the riverbank of Earth experiences the flow at its standard rate. But our ship is a vessel caught in a faster current out in the middle of that same river. As we speed through space, we are also speeding through time, and so our personal experience of its passage is subtly compressed relative to the shore. For every year that passes for us, a year and a few extra moments will have passed for our friends, our families, our entire world. It is an infinitesimal difference on a human scale, but it is real. We are not just travelers in space. We are time travelers carrying our own bubble of slightly slower time with us through the void. This knowledge does not bring anxiety, but a sense of quiet awe. We are participants in a cosmic dance, and the rhythm we move to is uniquely our own. Our journey is etching a line not just across the solar system, but through the fabric of space-time itself. This deep quiet also brings a new relationship with solitude. On Earth, one can feel lonely in a crowd, an ache of disconnection amidst a sea of humanity. Here, there are only a handful of us, a tiny tribe sealed within this metal ark. But the feeling is not loneliness. It is a form of profound, shared solitude. We are each alone with our own thoughts, our own memories, our own inner universe, and yet we are bound together by the same immense reality outside our walls. The emptiness is not a void to be feared, but a canvas. In the absence of external distraction, the inner world becomes vast and vivid. Memories surface with a clarity that is startling. Old conversations replay in the mind not as faint echoes, but as if happening in the next room. We trace the journeys of our own lives, the paths that led us to this specific point in space and time, floating in the dark between Jupiter and Saturn. We become archaeologists of our own minds, digging through layers of experience, uncovering forgotten dreams and unresolved questions. The silence of space does not empty the mind. It fills it. It gives our thoughts the room they need to breathe, to expand, and to be understood in a way that was never possible in the noise and rush of terrestrial life. The view from the forward observatory changes, but only for the most patient observer. The background of distant stars remains a fixed and flawless tapestry, a scatter of cold diamonds on black velvet. The Milky Way is a silent, ghostly river of light so clear and dense without an atmosphere to blur its edges that it feels as if one could reach out and touch it. There are no clouds here, no weather, no birds, no shifting light. There is only the pure, unfiltered light of creation traveling for thousands or millions of years to end its journey on the retinas of our eyes. In this unchanging theater, we learn a new way of seeing. We are not looking for movement or change on the scale of minutes or hours. We are learning to perceive the universe on its own terms on a time scale of weeks and months. We are watching the grand, slow, celestial mechanics unfold. We see our own motion not as a feeling of speed, but as a subtle, almost imperceptible parallax shift in the positions of the nearer stars against the more distant ones. It is a visual confirmation of our immense journey, a quiet testament to the distance we have covered. The universe is not static, it is simply patient, and out here in the long quiet, we are finally learning to be patient with it. It is in this state, suspended between the memory of one world and the promise of another, that the true purpose of the journey begins to reveal itself. The mission objectives. The scientific measurements, the collection of data. Those are the reasons written in the mission charter. They are the logical justification for this incredible undertaking. But the deeper purpose, the human purpose, is this: the transformation that occurs within the quiet. It is the stripping away of the non-essential. It is the confrontation with the self in the silent mirror of the void. It is the humbling realization of one's own microscopic scale against the backdrop of the infinite, and the simultaneous paradoxical feeling of being intimately connected to all of it. We came out here to study a distant planet, but we are discovering that the most profound discoveries are being made within the confines of our own minds. We are learning that emptiness is not nothingness. It is the space required for creation. It is the silence required for a new thought to be heard. It is the vast, dark canvas upon which the single fragile dot of our consciousness can finally see itself for what it is. The days continue their slow, unmarked procession. The ship's hum remains our constant companion, the breath of our shared life. We move through the vessel with a quiet economy of motion, our routines ingrained our presence, a familiar comfort to one another. We speak, but our conversations are different now. There is less trivial talk, more shared silence. A glance, a nod, a shared look out at the unchanging stars. These have become a language of their own, a communication that transcends words. We are a crew that has been forged not by crisis or by conflict, but by a long shared meditation. We have journeyed through the outer geography of the solar system and the inner geography of the soul, and we have found them to be reflections of one another, vast, mysterious, and filled with a quiet, powerful beauty. The long quiet is not a phase of the journey to be endured. It is the heart of the journey itself. It is the crucible in which we are being remade, molecule by molecule, thought by thought, prepared for the wonders that still lie ahead. And then one cycle, something shifts. It is not a sound, nor an alarm. It is a feeling, a subtle change in the collective focus of the crew. It begins in the navigation bay, a murmur of quiet excitement. A new set of coordinates is gently burned into our trajectory by the maneuvering thrusters, a puff of ionized gas so faint it is imperceptible inside the ship, yet it alters our destiny. We are beginning the long, slow process of deceleration, a gradual braking maneuver that will span weeks. We are no longer simply coasting through the dark. We are now aiming for a specific point within it. Our attention, which has been turned inward for so long, begins to pivot. We find ourselves gathering more often at the forward observatory, our eyes drawn to the starfield that lies directly ahead. For months, it has been a static and familiar sight. But now we are looking with a new intent. We are searching. We are waiting. At first, it is indistinguishable from the thousands of other points of light. It is a star perhaps slightly brighter than its neighbors, holding a steady yellowish-white light that does not twinkle. For days, it remains just that, a destination known only to our computers and our faith. But patience has become our nature. We watch and we wait, and the ship glides silently onward. Then slowly, almost imperceptibly, the change begins. That single point of light begins to resolve. It is no longer a perfect dimensionless point. Under the highest magnification of the optical telescopes, a subtle deformation appears. It is a tiny, almost imperceptible elongation, a hint of something more than a simple sphere of distant burning gas. A seed of anticipation, planted months ago, finally begins to sprout in the long, quiet garden of the journey. The great meditation of the deep void is drawing to a close. Something is waiting for us in the darkness ahead, and it is beginning to show us its true form. The first light of Saturn is upon us. The great marbled sphere of Jupiter is gone, folded back into the velvet darkness behind us. The space that surrounds our vessel now is of a different quality. It is a quieter, deeper black, a silent stretch taut between two titans. The journey through the Jovian system was a passage through a bustling court, a place of gravitational clamor and radiant energy. This is the long, straight road of the outer dark. Ahead, against the infinite spray of distant stars, one point of light holds our attention. It is not the brightest, nor the most remarkable. To the unaided eye, it is a simple, steady pinprick of pale gold, as unassuming as 1,000 other suns in 1,000 other galaxies. But we know what it is. It is our destination. It is Saturn. For now, it is an object of faith more than sight. We see it not for what it is, but for what we know it will become. And as we drift toward it, hour by hour, day by day, we are engaged in a slow and sacred dialogue with light itself. The photons striking our viewports, the very messengers that paint this tiny dot upon our retinas, began their journey long before this moment. They sprang from the sun, crossed the immense gulf of the inner solar system, and then fell upon the cloud tops and the icy rings of Saturn. There they scattered, a tiny fraction of them redirected on a new trajectory, a billion-kilometer flight aimed directly at us. They have been traveling for over an hour to bring us this news, this simple message that says, "I am here. I am real." We are seeing Saturn not as it is now, but as it was an hour ago. We are looking at a ghost of light, a memory of a world. It is a profound lesson in the nature of cosmic perception. To see anything across these distances is to see into the past. Our own journey is so slow and the speed of light so swift that this temporal lag feels insignificant. And yet, it is a constant gentle reminder that we are separated from our goal, not just by space, but by the unyielding flow of time. This single point of light contains a universe of history. It holds the memory of every human eye that has ever looked up and wondered. For millennia, it was simply one of the wanderers, a star that refused to stay fixed, tracing a slow, majestic path across the zodiac. It was the ancient symbol of boundaries, of time, of endings, and slow, patient cycles. It was the final planet, the sentinel, at the edge of the known solar system. Then, in the early 17th century, a man in Padua pointed a primitive arrangement of lenses at that point of light, and the universe cracked open. Galileo Galilei did not see the magnificent ringed world we know from photographs. His telescope was too small, the image too blurry, the light too faint. What he saw puzzled him completely. He saw a central globe flanked on either side by two smaller, fainter companions. He sketched them in his notebook, thinking perhaps he had discovered a triple planet system. He wrote that Saturn appeared to have ears or handles. When he looked again, 2 years later, they were gone. The planet appeared as a simple, solitary orb. He was mystified, writing, "Has Saturn swallowed his children?" He did not know that he was seeing the rings edge on a line too thin for his instrument to resolve. He saw a mystery, a divine riddle painted in faint light, and it was a mystery he would take to his grave. We are repeating his journey, but with the benefit of centuries of accumulated knowledge. As our own distance closes, that single point of gold begins to betray its true nature. It is like watching a photograph develop in an old darkroom, the image slowly emerging from a silver-white void. At first, the change is almost imperceptible. The point of light is no longer a perfect point. It has a direction, a subtle elongation that our instruments can measure long before our eyes can confirm it. This is the first echo of Galileo's confusion, the first hint that this is not a simple sphere. It is the ghost of the rings, their collective light bleeding into the light of the planet, creating a shape that is not quite round. This is the moment the idea of Saturn begins its transformation into the reality of Saturn. The abstract concept, the destination marked on our charts, begins to acquire dimension. Days turn into weeks. The journey is a long, slow inhalation, a patient waiting. And with each passing cycle of our ship's internal clock, the developing photograph gains clarity. The next stage is the arrival of color. The uniform pale gold begins to differentiate. The central globe retains a soft, buttery yellow, a color of muted sunlight on ancient clouds. But the extensions, the ears that so confuse Galileo, resolve into a brilliant crystalline white. The light from the rings is different. It is colder, sharper. It is the reflected glare of 1 billion shards of water ice, each a miniature moon orbiting in a perfect flattened disk. For the first time, we can see with our own eyes that Saturn is not one color but two. It is a world of pale gold embraced by arms of purest silver. The sight is breathtaking in its subtlety. It is not a garish, dramatic splash of pigment, but a quiet, elegant palette that speaks of cold of distance and of immense, silent majesty. We think of Christian Huygens, who with a more powerful telescope, decades after Galileo, was the first to propose that the strange appendages were a thin, flat ring, nowhere touching. Imagine the leap of imagination required for such a thought. Nothing like it had ever been seen or conceived of. A planet wearing a halo. It must have sounded like poetry or madness. Yet here it is before us, confirming his vision. We see the truth of his deduction, the courage of his hypothesis. We are not just travelers in space. We are travelers in time, witnessing the culmination of a conversation that has spanned 4 centuries. We carry with us the eyes of Galileo, the mind of Huygens, the cameras of the Voyager probes that first revealed the ring's intricate braids and ripples, and the instruments of Cassini, the lonely sentinel that spent 13 years in orbit here, mapping this world in unbelievable detail. Their journeys are embedded in our own. Their curiosity fuels our own sense of wonder. The psychology of arrival is a curious thing. For so long, Saturn has been a goal, a distant beacon, a promise. The mind, in the absence of detail, paints its own picture. We have all seen the perfect, high-resolution images sent back by our robotic precursors. We have studied the maps, memorized the names of the moons, traced the paths of the great storms. Yet the Saturn of our imagination is a composite, a collage of data and dreams. Now, as the real object grows in the viewport, a fascinating internal negotiation begins. The imagined Saturn must give way to the real one. The dream must dissolve to make way for the truth. And with every passing hour, the truth becomes more grand, more complex, and more beautifully strange than any image could convey. The moment of separation is a milestone in our journey. One day, it is a single elongated object of gold and silver. The next, as we cross an invisible threshold in space, our perspective shifts just enough for the rings to detach from the planet's globe. A sliver of black space appears between them, first at the ansae, the ends of the ring's ellipse, and then all the way around. The effect is profound. The ears are gone, the handles have vanished. In their place is Huygens' impossible vision, a perfect sphere suspended magically within a shimmering impossible ring. It no longer looks like a drawing or a symbol. It looks like a world. The photograph in the darkroom is finally sharp. The image is resolved. The planet and its ornament are two, yet one. We can now begin to see features. The pale golden globe is not uniform. It is banded striped with subtle layers of beige, cream, and ochre. These are the planet's weather system's jet streams, wider than our own Earth, racing around the planet at 1,000 miles an hour. They are the visible manifestation of a deep, turbulent interior, a world of liquid metallic hydrogen and unimaginable pressures. The rings, too, surrender their secrets. What looked like a solid silver plane is revealed to be a structure of infinite complexity. We can see gaps within them, most notably the great dark slash of the Cassini division, a void swept clean by the gravity of the moon Mimas. We see the fainter gaussier rings, the C ring, the D ring like smoky veils closer to the planet. The main A and B rings shine with the brilliance of fresh snow under a noonday sun. With this newfound clarity comes a humbling sense of scale, that sliver of black space between the planet and the rings. Our own world Earth could fit within it comfortably. The rings themselves, though they appear as thin as a razor's edge from this angle, are 175,000 miles across. We are approaching a structure so vast that our minds struggle to map it onto any familiar experience. It is not like a mountain or an ocean or a continent. It is a celestial artifact, a cosmic structure of such perfection and size that it feels less like a natural phenomenon and more like a work of deliberate, impossible art. The light that reaches us now feels different. It is no longer just a messenger from a distant star. It is the light of a place. It fills our forward viewport, no longer a point or a shape, but a landscape, a vast, silent, and ever-growing presence. The anticipation on board the vessel is a quiet, palpable thing. It is not the frantic energy of a launch or a landing, but the deep, resonant hum of a pilgrimage nearing its holy site. The journey across the great ocean is over. We have spent months crossing the darkness, guided by this single, unwavering promise of light. And now the light is all around us. The planet looms a colossal half-globe, turning slowly on its axis. The rings are no longer a line or an arc, but a vast, sweeping plain of ice that stretches out to the horizon. We are no longer observing Saturn. We are about to enter its embrace. The time for seeing from a distance is ending. The grand arrival is at hand. The great marbled sphere of Jupiter is gone, folded back into the velvet darkness behind us. The space that surrounds our vessel now is of a different quality. It is a quieter, deeper black, a silent stretch taut between two titans. The journey through the Jovian system was a passage through a bustling court, a place of gravitational clamor and radiant energy. This is the long, straight road of the outer dark. Ahead, against the infinite spray of distant stars, one point of light holds our attention. For months it was just that, a steady, unwavering point of gold, a destination promised by mathematics. But now it is no longer a point. It has resolved itself into a disk. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, and then with a gathering sense of inevitability, Saturn has grown. The journey of years is now measured in days, then hours. The silent coasting is almost over. We are falling now, falling toward the planet, not with the brute force of a plummeting stone, but with the grace of a key sliding into a lock. Every calculation, every minor course correction over the long voyage has been for this moment. We are not aimed at the planet itself, but at a precise invisible window in space beside it. A window through which we must pass at just the right speed, at just the right angle to be caught. The planet no longer feels like a destination. It feels like a presence. It fills the forward view, a perfect sphere of pale butterscotch and cream banded with subtle storms that move with a serenity that belies their true ferocious power. But the eye is not drawn to the globe of the planet. It is drawn to the line, a line of impossible perfection bisecting the planet's equator. It is so thin, so sharp, it looks as though it were drawn by a celestial architect with a sliver of pure light. This is our first true view of the rings seen edge on. They possess no thickness from this angle, just an assertion of their existence, a blade of brilliance held against the throat of the void. We know they are thousands of kilometers wide, yet from here they are a thought, an idea of a structure rather than the structure itself. Inside our vessel, the gentle hum of life support is the only sound. The air is still. There is a palpable sense of anticipation, a quiet tension that is not of fear, but of reverence. We have been travelers for so long, defined by our motion, by our trajectory, from one place to another. Soon that will change. The ship begins a slow, deliberate turn, a pirouette programmed long ago. The starfield wheels past the windows, a familiar cosmic ballet. The ship is aligning itself, pointing its main engine forward along our direction of travel. To arrive, we must push back. To be captured by gravity, we must fight it just enough. The concept is beautifully simple, a cornerstone of celestial mechanics. We have too much speed. Our velocity accumulated over years of falling toward the sun, and then slingshotting past Jupiter will carry us straight past Saturn and back into the outer darkness if we do nothing. We would get a magnificent view, a fleeting flyby, but we would remain travelers forever passing through. To stay, we must slow down. We must perform an orbital insertion burn, a braking maneuver. We must shed the exact amount of kinetic energy needed for Saturn's gravity to gently close its hand around us, pulling us from a straight line into a perpetual looping fall. An orbit. The countdown timer on the main display is not dramatic. It does not tick with the urgency of a launch. Its numbers fall away with a calm, measured pace. It is a clock of physics, not of human drama. The ship is ready. The engine is primed. We are perfectly positioned in that invisible window. Through a side viewport, Saturn is a vast curved wall of pastel clouds. And that line, that impossible razor-thin line of the rings, slices through the view. Everything in our journey, the years of planning, the months of quiet travel, the intricate dance of navigation, it all comes down to these next few minutes. The transition from a visitor to a resident. The countdown reaches zero. There is no sound, not at first, only a vibration. It begins deep within the structure of the vessel, a low thrum that you feel more in your bones than you hear with your ears. It is the awakening of the engine, but not with the roar of liftoff. This is different. It is a controlled, sustained, powerful sigh. The engine ignites, and a silent plume of incandescent gas blossoms into the vacuum behind us, pushing against our forward momentum. The gentle thrum rises into a steady, resonant hum, a single note held perfectly. It is the sound of braking. The feeling of deceleration is subtle, a mere suggestion of pressure, the gentlest of hands pressing us back into our seats. On the displays, our velocity begins to drop. The numbers fall kilometer per second by kilometer per second. Each digit shed is a piece of our past, a piece of the long journey from home given away to the void. We are surrendering our independence, our outbound trajectory in exchange for a place in this system. It is a cosmic bargain written in the language of thrust and gravity. The burn will last for 45 minutes. 45 minutes to undo years of travel. Outside, the universe remains serene. The stars do not blur. The planet does not waver. The only sign of the immense forces at play is that deep internal hum and the slow, steady change in the numbers that define our existence. We are watching ourselves be rewritten. From an object in hyperbolic trajectory, destined to escape, to an object in an elliptical one, destined to stay. The hum is the sound of that rewriting. It is not violent, it is methodical. It is the voice of applied physics, a conversation between our own engineering and the fundamental laws of the cosmos. It is a cosmic sigh of arrival, a long exhalation after a very long journey. As the burn continues, our path through space begins to bend. We are no longer flying past Saturn. We are curving around it. The geometry of our relationship is changing. The view in the port window shifts. The planet's limb, the curved edge of its atmosphere, begins to move, to rotate into view as we sweep around it. And then something miraculous happens. The line of the rings is no longer a line. As our trajectory bends, our perspective tilts. The razor's edge begins to open up. What was a one-dimensional sliver of light reveals its second dimension. It is widening. It is becoming a plane, a vast luminous sheet stretching out from the planet's equator. and it is beyond any scale the human mind can comfortably hold. It is not a solid object. It is a texture, a pattern of impossible complexity and grace. The initial shock is not of its beauty, but of its existence. It feels impossible. A structure so vast, so flat, so perfectly formed should not be here. It looks like a work of art, a piece of deliberate, impossible architecture. The engine noise has not changed. That steady, resonant hum continues its work. But inside the cabin, all attention is lost to the view. The burn becomes background noise to the spectacle unfolding outside. The rings continue to open, resolving into distinct bands. There are gaps, divisions, subtle changes in color and brightness. We can see the famous Cassini division, a dark, sharp gap separating the outer A ring from the brighter B ring. They are not uniform. They are alive with structure, with waves and ripples, echoes of the gravitational pull of nearby moons. They are a river of ice and dust, billions upon billions of particles each in its own perfect orbit, collectively creating this single, breathtaking vision. The timer for the burn is nearing its end. The last few seconds tick away. The hum in the ship's structure deepens for a moment, and then it stops. The vibration ceases. The deceleration ends, and the silence that returns is the most profound we have ever known. It is not the empty silence of interplanetary space. It is a new kind of quiet. It is the silence of arrival, the silence of being held. We are in orbit. The ship begins another slow, pre-programmed turn, orienting us to our new home. And as it turns, the full glory of Saturn and its rings swings into view. We are on the planet's night side, now shielded from the distant, brilliant point of the sun. And yet, it is not dark. The cabin is filled with a soft, silvery, ethereal light. It comes from below, from the colossal, curving surface of the rings. This is ring shine. The rings, stretching for hundreds of thousands of kilometers, are made almost entirely of water ice. They form the largest, most magnificent mirror in the solar system. They are catching the sunlight from the other side of the planet and reflecting it back, bathing the dark side of Saturn and everything near it in a gentle, ghostly luminescence. The light is cool, diffuse, and silent. It paints the bulkheads and control panels in shades of silver and pearl. It casts soft, indistinct shadows. It is a light source born not of fire or fusion, but of ice and distance and geometry. It is the native light of this place. Looking out, we see the night side of the planet below us, not as a black void, but as a gently illuminated globe, its cloud tops traced in the soft glow of the ring shine. And above us, arching across the entire sky, is the underside of the ring plane. It is a ceiling of impossible grandeur, a luminous river of light that dwarfs everything. From here we can see the individual particles are not visible. Instead, we see their collective effect, a shimmering, textured, translucent ribbon that seems to stretch from one horizon to another. It is like floating in a cathedral made of light and silence. We are no longer a traveler. We have become a satellite, a tiny, temporary moon in a system of giants. Our journey is over, and yet it feels as if it has just begun. The feeling of awe is so immense it transcends excitement and settles into a state of deep, resonant peace. This is a place of profound quiet, of ancient stability, of a beauty that operates on principles so vast and elegant they feel like a form of grace. We have spent years imagining this moment, seeing it in simulations and on screens. But no image, no description could ever prepare the human soul for this reality. To be here, to float in the silver light of the rings, is to understand something fundamental about the universe, that it is capable of creating architectures of such sublime and silent majesty that they feel like a form of communication, a message written in the language of gravity, ice, and light. The initial overwhelming spectacle begins to settle, giving way to a new kind of looking, a deeper curiosity. The rings are not a single, monolithic object. They are a place, a landscape with their own geography, their own weather, their own history, written in ripples and gaps. From this new stable orbit, we can begin to see the details. The delicate thread-like structures, the subtle braids and waves, the ghostly spokes that appear and disappear with the planet's magnetic field. That impossible silent architecture is not just a facade to be admired from afar. It is a world to be explored. It is a cathedral whose individual stones, whose intricate carvings and hidden chapels we can now finally begin to see. And so our first task as residents of this system is to draw closer to begin our tour of this great shimmering wonder. The great marbled sphere of Jupiter is gone, folded back into the velvet darkness behind us. The space that surrounds our vessel now is of a different quality. It is a quieter, deeper black, a silent stretch taut between two titans. The journey through the Jovian system was a passage through a bustling court, a place of gravitational clamor and radiant energy. This is the long, straight road of the outer dark. Ahead, against the infinite spray of distant stars, one point of light holds our attention. It is not the fierce, unwavering beacon of a star, but a soft, golden ember, steady and serene. As we draw closer over untold distances, that single point of light resolves. First, it becomes a tiny, perfect sphere. And then, something impossible seems to happen. The sphere grows ears, tiny, delicate appendages like the handles of a celestial cup. And as we continue our silent fall toward it, these handles stretch thin and flatten until they are no longer appendages at all, but a structure of impossible grace encircling the world. It is no longer a line, but a plane, a disk of shimmering silvered light, tilted against the black so thin it seems it might be a trick of perception, a cosmic mirage. We are approaching the rings of Saturn. From this distance they appear solid, a single polished surface like a gramophone record spun from light. But even now we can see the subtle grooves, the faint lines etched into its surface, hinting at a complexity our eyes cannot yet fully grasp. Our trajectory is not aimed at the planet itself, but at this extraordinary structure. We will not observe it from afar. We will pass through it. The vessel adjusts its course, a silent and infinitesimal correction, aligning us with one of the great voids within the system. We are aiming for the space between the quiet passages in this grand silent architecture. The plane of light grows, filling our view. It swallows the stars behind it, no longer a part of the sky, but the sky itself. The feeling is not one of approaching a solid object, but of descending into a luminous fog. We cross the outer boundary, the faint, ghostly E-ring, so tenuous it is all but invisible. There is no sense of impact, no sound. There is only a change in the quality of the light. The black of space becomes subtly illuminated, as if a veil of diamond dust has been cast across the void. Tiny individual glints of light begin to drift past our viewport, moving with a dreamlike slowness. They are impossibly far apart, solitary wanderers in a vast cold desert. But they are the first citizens of this kingdom of ice. We move deeper. The density of particles increases exponentially. What were once isolated sparks are now a steady, flowing river of light. And here, in the heart of this river, we finally see what the rings truly are. They are not solid. They are not gas. They are a blizzard. A blizzard frozen in orbit, a storm of ice suspended in a perpetual silent fall around the planet. Countless trillions of individual particles, ranging in size from motes of dust, so fine they could rest on your fingertip, unseen, to chunks of ice the size of a small house. And nearly all of it, over 99%, is pure water ice. Ancient crystalline water frozen at the dawn of the solar system, now orbiting in a graceful, endless dance. The metaphor that comes to mind is not of a structure, but of a place of worship. We are drifting through the aisles of a cathedral made of frost and starlight. The great glowing sphere of Saturn hangs in the distance like a grand altar, and the light of the far-off sun streams through the gaps in the ice, casting long ethereal rays through the spinning particles. There is a sense of profound sacred silence here. The particles never touch. They move on parallel paths, overtaking one another with the slow, inexorable grace of celestial mechanics. We are witnessing a chaos of individual bodies, yet from that chaos emerges a perfect harmonious order. It is a physical embodiment of music, a symphony played not with sound, but with gravity and light. We drift onward, crossing from one great ring to the next. They are not a uniform sheet, but a series of concentric bands, each with its own character, its own texture. We pass through the sea ring, the crepe ring, so named for its translucence. It is a ghostly structure, a place where the ice particles are sparse, allowing the stars behind to shine through clearly. It feels like walking through a grove of silver birches. In winter, the trunks thin and widely spaced. The light here is gentle, muted. Then we cross a boundary into the B ring. The transition is startling. The gentle grove becomes a dense, ancient forest. This is the brightest, most massive, and most opaque of all the rings. The light outside the viewport explodes into a brilliant, diffuse glow. It is impossible to see individual stars through this section. The sheer density of ice particles scatters the sunlight in every direction, creating a luminous, pearlescent fog. It feels as if we are submerged in milk and diamonds. Here the particles are packed so tightly that their collective gravity begins to assert itself, forming temporary clumps, and then dispersing like waves breaking and reforming on a shore. We see vertical structures, great ramparts and walls of ice, rising hundreds of feet above and below the main ring plane, sculpted by the gravitational nudges of tiny embedded moonlets. It is a landscape of constant gentle turmoil, a river flowing with such density that it creates its own currents and eddies. Ahead lies the most famous feature of this entire system, a great dark gap in the celestial architecture. It is a void of nearly 3,000 miles across a clear, dark lane, cutting through the brightest part of the rings. This is the Cassini division, named for the astronomer who first observed it from Earth in the 17th century. From our vessel, it is not merely a dark line. It is a profound and empty space. We glide out of the luminous chaos of the B ring, and suddenly the universe opens up again. The stars return sharp and clear in the sudden darkness. The feeling is like stepping out of a brightly lit hall into the quiet of a moonless night. But this division is not truly empty. It is simply a region of far lower density, populated by darker, dustier material. It is a canyon, not a void, and its existence is a testament to the music of the cosmos. The Cassini division is carved, by the silent song of a moon. Far away from here, orbiting Saturn at a much greater distance, is Mimas, a small battered moon bearing a crater so large it gives it the appearance of a cyclopean eye. Mimas is the conductor of this orchestra. Its orbit is in a perfect harmonic relationship with the particles that once resided in this gap. For every single orbit Mimas completes around Saturn, any particle in this division would have completed exactly 2. This is called orbital resonance. Imagine pushing a child on a swing. You don't push randomly. You apply a small amount of force at just the right moment in the swing's arc, and with each push, the swing goes higher. Mimas does the same with its gravity. Every time a particle in the gap aligns with it, it receives a tiny gravitational tug, always in the same direction. Over millions of years, these gentle, repeated nudges have pushed and pulled and shepherded every piece of ice out of this specific orbital path, clearing the space and creating the magnificent division we now traverse. It is a gap carved not by force, but by rhythm, a testament to how small, persistent influences can shape the grandest of structures over cosmic time. We are not alone in this gravitational dance. As we continue our journey outward through the A-ring, a paler, more uniform band of ice, we approach its outer edge. And here we witness one of the most delicate and beautiful phenomena in the solar system. The edge of the A-ring is not a smooth tapering off. It is a sharp, crisp boundary, as if trimmed with cosmic shears. And just beyond it, we see them 2 tiny moons, Prometheus and Pandora. They are small, potato-shaped worlds, barely 100 kilometers across. They are the shepherd moons. Like sheepdogs herding a flock, these 2 moons orbit just inside and just outside the thin outermost F-ring, a wisp of ice so fine it looks like a single strand of silk. Their gravity contains the ring particles, preventing them from spreading out and dispersing into space. The inner moon, Prometheus, periodically dips into the ring itself, its gravity pulling streamers of material out, creating intricate braids, knots, and clumps. Then, the outer moon Pandora passes by and helps to smooth things out again. The F-ring is not a static circle. It is a living, breathing thing constantly being kneaded and sculpted by its 2 small guardians. We watch mesmerized as this intricate ballet of gravity unfolds in perfect silence. It is a system of such delicate balance, such intricate choreography, that it seems less like physics and more like art. Throughout the rings, we see evidence of this gravitational artistry. We see waves, ripples frozen in place, spreading out from the orbits of tiny moonlets embedded within the ice. There are density waves, which are tightly packed spiral patterns like the grooves on a record. And there are bending waves, where a moon orbiting on a slight incline pulls the ring particles up and down, creating enormous corrugated ripples that rise and fall over miles. The entire ring system is a recording medium etched with the gravitational signatures of all the bodies that interact with it. It is Saturn's memory, written in a language of ice and motion. Now we change our orientation, slowly turning our vessel perpendicular to the plane. We begin a gentle ascent, rising above the disk of light. The perspective shifts again. The intimate, immersive experience of being within the cathedral gives way to a breathtaking panoramic view. We see the system in its entirety. The subtle differences in color and brightness between the rings become clear. The faint, reddish dust in the Cassini division, the clean, bright white of the B ring, the almost imperceptible whisper of the outermost rings fading into the black. Below us, the planet Saturn is no longer just a backdrop. It is a collaborator in this creation. Its immense gravity is the anchor for the entire system, the canvas upon which this masterpiece is painted. And now, as we rise higher, we see the shadow. The planet's own shadow, a vast, sharp cone of absolute black, is cast across the rings behind it. Where the shadow falls, the rings vanish, their light extinguished. It creates a stunning visual paradox, a perfect arch of silver and gold abruptly cut by a wedge of pure nothingness. As the planet turns, this shadow sweeps across the rings like the hand of a cosmic clock, a constant reminder of the celestial mechanics that govern all things here. The rings, we now understand, are not a permanent feature. They are ephemeral. On the timescale of the solar system, they are as fleeting as a morning mist. They are constantly being ground down, darkened by micrometeorite dust, and slowly, particle by particle, raining down onto Saturn's atmosphere. What we are witnessing is a temporary moment of glory. Perhaps a moon or a comet strayed too close to Saturn hundreds of millions of years ago and was shattered by its tidal forces. Its icy body spread into this magnificent orbiting wreath. We are fortunate to live in the age of the rings, to be here at this moment when they are at their most brilliant. To see them is to see a beautiful ruin in the making, a monument to a cosmic cataclysm whose beauty will one day fade back into the darkness from which it came. Our vessel has now cleared the main plain, the grand spectacle shrinking below us. The Cathedral of Ice has become a silver line, once more, a quiet halo around a golden world. The journey through its aisles was a lesson in scale, in harmony, and in the subtle power of gravity. We saw how trillions of chaotic pieces can create a singular, ordered thing of beauty. We saw how the persistent rhythmic touch of a distant moon can carve a canyon through a forest of ice. And we saw how tiny shepherds can maintain the most delicate and intricate of structures against the pull of oblivion. But the rings, for all their majesty, are only the grand entrance. They are the shimmering veil that conceals the rest of the kingdom. Looking out now, we see the moons that govern this place, not as abstract forces, but as destinations. Mimas, the carver of the great division. Enceladus, the source of the faint E-ring itself, spraying plumes of water ice into space from its own hidden ocean. Titan, a giant veiled world larger than the planet Mercury. The forces that shape the rings are worlds in their own right, each a unique character in the court of Saturn. The rings were the overture, a symphony of light and ice. Now the players are taking the stage. Beyond this shimmering plain, a system of worlds awaits, each with its own story, its own mysteries, and its own secrets to share. The great marbled sphere of Jupiter is gone, folded back into the velvet darkness behind us. The space that surrounds our vessel now is of a different quality. It is a quieter, deeper black, a silence stretched taut between two titans. The journey through the Jovian system was a passage through a bustling court, a place of gravitational clamor and radiant energy. This is the long, straight road of the outer dark. Ahead, against the infinite spray of distant stars, one point of light holds our attention. It is not the piercing, diamond-hard glint of a distant sun, but a soft, steady glow of pale gold. For weeks it has grown from a pinprick to a discernible disk, and now, as we draw closer, it has resolved itself into a sovereign world attended by a family of smaller lights, a system unto itself. We have arrived at the domain of Saturn, but to truly know this place is not just to witness the planet, but to meet its court. For here, orbiting in a grand silent dance, are more than 80 moons each, a world with a history, a character, a secret whispered into the vacuum. They are not mere satellites. They are archives of cosmic time, frozen, shattered, and utterly strange. We will not visit them all, but we will draw near to the most enigmatic, the most revealing. Our course shifts, our velocity bleeds away, and we prepare to enter the gravitational waltz of this system of worlds. Our first destination is the giant of this court, a world so large it dwarfs the planet, Mercury, a moon with the soul of a planet, Titan. From a distance, it is a featureless orb of hazy uniform orange. There are no craters visible, no mountains, no canyons. It is a world veiled, wrapped in an atmosphere thicker and denser than Earth's. As we begin our descent, we are not plunging toward a rocky surface, but sinking into an endless primordial twilight. The light of the distant sun, already a faint memory, is scattered and diffused by the thick nitrogen and methane smog bathing everything in an eternal sepia-toned dusk. The ship trembles slightly as it meets the upper layers of this atmosphere. It is a feeling like sinking into water, a slow, gentle resistance. Outside, the view transforms. We are no longer in the black of space, but in a vast orange ocean of gas. We pass through layers of haze, organic molecules created by sunlight, acting on methane high above the very building blocks of life, raining down in a slow, perpetual drizzle. It is a strange and profound thought this world may hold clues to how life began on our own planet, a prequel to our own existence preserved in a cryogenic state. Lower we go, and through the thickest haze a landscape begins to emerge. It is shockingly, eerily familiar. We see river channels branching and meandering like the arteries of a continent. We see shorelines dark and smooth against a rugged terrain. And then we see them, the lakes. Not lakes of water, but of liquid methane, and ethane still and dark under the orange sky. This is a place where it rains gasoline, a place where the rivers carve through rock-hard water ice, and the winds sculpt dunes made not of sand, but of frozen hydrocarbon particles. Imagine standing on such a shore. The air is thick, cold enough to freeze nitrogen solid, the pressure a little higher than at sea level on Earth. You would need no pressure suit, only protection from the absolute soul-crushing cold. The gravity is gentle, about the same as on our own moon. Looking up, you would not see stars, nor the sun, but only the thick, featureless orange ceiling. And in the sky, hanging like a celestial ornament, would be the pale, banded arch of Saturn, its rings a sliver of impossible beauty seen through the murk. There might be a slow, fat drizzle of methane not falling as drops, but drifting down like mist, making the dark liquid of the lakes ripple in lazy, silent patterns. It is a world of immense alien beauty, a place that follows the same physical laws as ours, but with a completely different chemistry. The Huygens probe which landed here sent back sounds of wind, a lonely whisper from a world that had never known life. In that whisper, we hear the deep history of the solar system, a reflection of what Earth may have been 4 billion years ago, before oxygen, before water before us. We ascend from Titan's melancholic twilight, leaving its hidden seas behind, and turn our attention to a much smaller, yet far more vibrant world. Outward, we travel past the orbit of Rhea, a cratered and ancient sphere, and Dione scarred with bright, wispy canyons of ice. We are seeking a glint of brilliant white, a small moon that shines brighter than freshly fallen snow. This is Enceladus. At only 500 kilometers in diameter, it is a tiny world small enough to fit within the borders of Great Britain. From a distance, it appears as a simple icy ball, heavily cratered in some regions, uncannily smooth in others. But as we approach its south pole, we witness one of the true wonders of the solar system. Here the surface is not old and dead, but young and alive. Carved across the landscape are 4 enormous parallel fractures, like the claw marks of a cosmic beast. They are dubbed the tiger stripes, and they are glowing with a faint blue tint, radiating heat into the cold of space. And from them, something extraordinary is happening. Geysers hundreds of kilometers high are erupting from the moon's surface. They are not plumes of fire and rock, but jets of fine glittering water ice crystals, salt, and organic molecules blasted into space from a liquid ocean hidden beneath the ice shell. Enceladus is breathing. It is venting its own ocean into the void. We drift through these plumes. Our instruments register the composition of the spray water salts, silica, and complex carbon-based molecules. Every ingredient necessary for life as we know it is here being offered up from the warm, dark depths. The gravitational pull of Saturn constantly kneads and flexes the moon's core, generating tidal heat that keeps this subsurface ocean from freezing solid. It is a global ocean, a dark, hidden sea, perhaps dotted with hydrothermal vents on its floor, just like the deep oceans of Earth, where life may have first sparked. Unlike the alien chemistry of Titan, Enceladus offers a familiar promise. This small, bright moon, which reflects nearly 100% of the light that strikes it, has become one of the most compelling places to search for extraterrestrial life. It is a beacon of possibility in the outer dark. To float beside it is to feel a sense of hope, of imminent discovery. The silence here is not one of melancholy, but one of anticipation. The fine ice crystals from the plumes settle on our viewports like dust, each one a frozen remnant of a hidden, vibrant world. Some of that ice escapes the moon's weak gravity, entirely feeding Saturn's faint E-ring, a ghostly halo created by the breath of this tiny living moon. We are witnessing a world actively shaping its environment, a geological pulse beating steadily in the deep cold. Our journey continues, taking us far out to one of the strangest objects in Saturn's retinue. We cross the orbits of Tethys and Hyperion, the latter a bizarre sponge-like moon tumbling chaotically through space. But our target is Iapetus, the moon of starkest contrast. As we approach, its nature becomes clear. One half of the moon is bright, as reflective as snow. The other half is dark, as black as asphalt. The dividing line between them is not blurred, but sharp and distinct, as if one hemisphere was painted over the other. This is the great mystery of Iapetus. For centuries, astronomers could only see it on one side of its orbit, because the other, darker side was lost against the black of space. The leading hemisphere, the one that faces forward as it orbits Saturn, is coated in a dark, reddish material. The trailing hemisphere is made of brilliant, clean ice. The prevailing theory is that Iapetus is slowly sweeping up dark, dusty material from the orbit of another, more distant moon, Phoebe. This material coats its leading face, and because the dark surface absorbs more sunlight, it warms up, causing the ice beneath to sublimate, to turn directly into gas. This water vapor then drifts around to the colder trailing hemisphere and deposits there as fresh, bright frost, making the bright side brighter and the dark side darker over eons. It is a slow planetary scale process of runaway contrast, but the two-tone surface is not its only riddle. Encircling the Moon's equator, primarily on its dark hemisphere, is a massive ridge of mountains, some reaching 10 kilometers into the sky. It is 3 times the height of Mount Everest. It gives the Moon a strange walnut-like shape. No one is certain how it formed. Was it material from a collapsed ring system that fell to the surface? Was it the result of tectonic activity from a bygone era when the Moon cooled and contracted? Iapetus offers no easy answers. It is a cosmic question mark, a monument to the slow, patient, and often inexplicable forces that shape worlds. To gaze upon its divided face is to be reminded that the universe is under no obligation to make sense to us. It simply is in all its improbable and beautiful strangeness. Before we conclude our tour, there is one last destination much closer to Saturn, nestled just outside the main rings. It is a small battered sphere of ice named Mimas, and it is famous for one overwhelming feature. Dominating one side of the Moon is a gargantuan impact crater 130 kilometers across named Herschel. The crater is so vast relative to the Moon's size that it gives Mimas an uncanny resemblance to the Death Star from science fiction lore. The central peak of the crater stands almost as tall as Mount Everest, a monumental spire of ice rising from the basin floor. To look upon Mimas is to look upon a survivor. The impact that created the Herschel crater must have been an event of almost unimaginable violence. The energy released would have sent shock waves reverberating through the entire Moon, fracturing its icy crust to the very core. It came perilously close to shattering Mimas, completely blasting it into a new ring of debris. But it did not. The Moon held together, and the scar of that ancient cataclysm remains frozen in time. Mimas is a testament to the brutal history of the solar system, a reminder that the calm we see today is a stillness born from an era of chaos and collision. It is a quiet, pockmarked world bearing its wound for all to see, a silent witness to the sheer power of cosmic forces. We pull away, leaving the small, scarred Moon behind. We have seen a world with methane rivers, a world with an ocean of hidden water, a world painted in black and white, and a world that survived its own near annihilation. And these are only a few. The Saturnian system is a grand library of worlds, each with its own volume, its own story. As we drift slowly away, our vessel turns. We let the glorious rings of Saturn and its family of moons recede from our main view. We have spent our journey looking outward, deeper and deeper, into the cold and the dark, finding wonders beyond imagination. But now our perspective shifts. From this incredible vantage point, some 1.5 billion kilometers from where we started, we turn our sensors not to the new worlds ahead, but to the old one behind. Our viewfinders pan across the starfield, past the distant spark of Jupiter, past the asteroid belt, past the tiny glint of Mars. We are searching for something else. A flicker of light so small and faint it is almost lost in the glare of the sun. There it is, a pale golden dot suspended in a sunbeam. It is not a moon, not a planet in the grand sense we have just witnessed. It is something else entirely. It is home. And from here, from the edge of Saturn's domain, we finally have the distance and the quiet to truly see it. The great marbled sphere of Jupiter is gone, folded back into the velvet darkness behind us. The space that surrounds our vessel now is of a different quality. It is a quieter, deeper black, a silence stretched taut between two titans. The journey through the Jovian system was a passage through a bustling court, a place of gravitational clamor and radiant energy. This is the long, straight road of the outer dark. Ahead, against the infinite spray of distant stars, one point of light holds a soft, unwavering glow, a promise of arrival. That is Saturn. But for a moment, we will not look ahead. Our journey is almost complete, but its purpose is not fulfilled until we perform one final maneuver. There is no command spoken, only a silent intention relayed through the vessel's mind. The low, resonant hum of the primary drive fades into utter stillness. The gyroscopes, which have spun faithfully for so many years, cease their stabilizing whine. For a long, breathless moment, we are perfectly adrift, a mote of metal and memory coasting on the immense, slow river of spacetime. Then, with a whisper of compressed gas from thrusters, no louder than a sigh, our vessel begins to turn. It is not a rapid pivot, but a slow, deliberate rotation, like a dancer turning in a dream. The starfield ahead, with Saturn at its heart, slides gracefully from view. The side windows show only the endless uniform black, punctuated by the cold, distant glitter of alien suns in other arms of the galaxy. The turn continues. 180 degrees, a perfect reversal. We are now facing backward along our own path. We are looking home. The view is dominated by a single brilliant star. It is the Sun. From here, nearly 1 billion miles away, it has lost its familiar godlike personality. It is no longer a broad, warm disk that fills the sky. It is an intensely bright, perfectly sharp point of light, a celestial diamond on black velvet. It has no visible corona, no gentle rays. It is simply a pure, piercing beacon of white fire. It is still the undisputed king of this space, outshining every other object 1,000 times over. But it is now clearly a star among stars, the anchor of a system we can now see in its entirety. Our optical systems engage, magnifying the view, drinking in the faint, ancient light. The task is to find a single specific speck of dust floating near that fire. We tune the filters, blocking the overwhelming glare of the sun itself, creating an artificial eclipse. In the resulting twilight, the inner cord of the solar system begins to resolve. There are other tiny points of light here, loyal companions to their parent star. We can trace their orbits, the invisible ellipses drawn by gravity. There is the brilliant spark of Venus wrapped in its impenetrable clouds. There is the faint, ruddy glimmer of Mars, the color of old rust. They are familiar faces in the cosmic darkness. And then, there, just there, tucked inside the orbit of Mars, nestled close to the sun's manufactured night, a point of light so small, so faint, it seems it might vanish if you were to blink. It is not blue. From this immense distance, the delicate atmospheric scattering that gives our world its color is lost, washed out by the sheer scale of the void. Instead, the light is a pale, shimmering gold, the color of weak sunlight on a distant ocean. It is the faintest of embers, a single warm spark in the unending cold. That is Earth. That is home. Everything is on that dot. Every person you have ever known, every voice you have ever heard, every hand you have ever held, every king and every peasant, every creator and every destroyer of civilization, every mother and father, every hopeful child, every saint, and every sinner in the history of our species lived there on a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. On that tiny point of light is every ocean, every mountain, every forest, every war and every peace treaty, every symphony ever composed, every painting ever created, every idea that ever sparked in a human mind. All of it, the totality of human experience, the grand and tumultuous story of our world, is contained within the physical confines of a single unresolved pixel of golden light. From this vantage point, the divisions that define us on the surface become so profoundly meaningless. The lines drawn on maps, the walls built between nations, the conceptual barriers of culture and creed, they all dissolve into utter irrelevance. From here, there is no east or west, no north or south. There is no us and them. There is only a single unified sphere, a whole and unbroken organism of rock, water, and air. The planet does not recognize our borders. It has only one atmosphere, one global ocean, one intricate web of life shared by all. To see it from out here is to understand this truth not as an intellectual concept, but as a physical, observable fact. The Earth is one. The human family is one. We are all irrevocably passengers on this pale gold dot, and we have nowhere else to go. There is a strange and beautiful sense of connection that blossoms in this perspective. We are not separate from this solar system. We are an expression of it. The carbon in our bodies was forged in the hearts of stars that died long before our sun was born. The iron in our blood was scattered across the cosmos in a supernova explosion. The water that fills our cells is made of the same hydrogen and oxygen that swirls in the clouds of Jupiter and freezes into the ice crystals that make up Saturn's rings. We look at the great ringed world now hanging behind us, and we are looking at our own primordial chemistry, arranged in a different, magnificent form. The solar system is not a collection of isolated objects separated by a void. It is a single vast environment bound together by the invisible threads of gravity and the constant flow of light and particles from the sun. The light that is reflecting off our home that is traveling for over an hour to reach our vessel's sensors is the same light that warms the frozen moons of Saturn. The solar wind that flows past our ship is the same solar wind that creates the auroras on Jupiter and on Earth. We are all breathing, in a cosmic sense, the same recycled stardust. We are all part of one continuous flowing substance. To feel separate is an illusion, a trick of scale and perspective. Out here, you can feel the truth. The entire system is one body, and that pale gold dot is its living, beating heart. This view recalibrates the soul. On Earth, we can feel so large, so significant. Our concerns can seem immense, our conflicts world-shattering. But from the outer dark, our world is revealed in its true context. It is a small stage in a vast cosmic arena. The sheer scale of the blackness surrounding that tiny point of light inspires a profound humility. It is a reminder of our fragility, of the precious and precarious nature of our existence. Our planet is a tiny, lonely outpost in the great enveloping dark, and that makes it infinitely more precious. The instinct to explore, to send a vessel like this one out into the void, is often framed as a quest for conquest or escape. But this final view reveals a deeper truth. We did not come all this way to conquer Saturn. We came all this way to see the Earth. We came to gain this specific vantage point, to understand our home in a way that is impossible from its surface. The greatest discovery of this long voyage is not a new moon or a strange geological formation on Titan. The greatest discovery is a renewed sense of what it means to be human and what it means to be home. The purpose of reaching for the stars is not to leave our world behind, but to finally see it for what it is, a miracle. A rare and beautiful accident of gravity and chemistry, a haven of warmth and life in an impossibly vast and indifferent universe. And so, we let the image of the pale gold dot burn itself into our memory. We let its lesson of unity, humility, and wonder settle deep within us. It is a perspective we will carry for the rest of our existence. It is the gift of the journey. Slowly, gently, the thrusters whisper once more. The vessel completes its turn, the distant sun and its golden spark of a world sliding away, replaced again by the starfield that marks our destination. And there it is, Saturn. No longer a point of light, but a world. A majestic glowing orb suspended in the darkness, adorned with its impossible rings. The view is breathtaking, a reward at the end of a long road. But we see it now with new eyes. We have not come here as conquerors. We have come as pilgrims, carrying with us the humble and profound awareness of the tiny, precious world we came from. We have arrived not just at another planet, but at a new understanding. The journey outward has become a journey home. The slow voyage is complete, but the journey of understanding has just begun. To travel through the vast, quiet spaces of our solar system is to travel through the hidden architecture of ourselves. Each planet, each moon, each empty mile of darkness becomes a mirror, reflecting our own capacity for wonder, our own sense of scale, and our own deep, innate connection to the cosmos. We learn that exploration is not about planting a flag, but about opening the mind. The universe does not ask for our dominion. It asks for our attention, our humility, and our awe. And in giving it, we find we have not been looking at something alien and separate, but at the grand and beautiful continuum of which we have always been a part. The final truth learned in the outer dark is that you can travel 1 billion miles from home only to find yourself more deeply, more completely, and more gratefully there than ever before.